Hey, kia ora, Helen Brahms here, coming to you live from a very hot Sun City in Arizona. We hit three digits today, so that's 100 degrees, somewhere around 40 degrees for my Celsius people. So yes, it's been a very hot day. We got, I think we're currently sitting at 86 in the RV right now, and it's hotter outside, so at least it's meant to be cooler in here. Got the fan going, got the AC going, so we're trying to stay as cool as possible. And but how was your Thankful Thursday today? How was that? How did that go? What do you have to be most grateful for today, for this week? Um, what fun things did you get to be grateful for this week? So let us know in the comments below. Like I said, it has been a hot day. It got up to 100 degrees, although they said it felt like 105. I'm sort of like, yeah, whatever. It's just hot. But I still had a very productive day today. I got a lot of stuff done. I helped a lot of people. Got to spend got to do my masterminding group call today, which was awesome. Got to be on the networking call that I'm usually on Thursdays, but lately I've been missing because I went to finish one job at 3 o'clock and jumped straight onto the networking thing, but missed the cutoff line by a minute or two because I'm finishing up helping somebody. But today I actually got to make it because it was on after our mastermind call, which was cool. And we did speed networking today, and it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. We had some great conversations in there, and we just had so much fun with that. And I just got off a training call. Oh, actually, no, we just got back from a walk outside. That's how we know it's hotter outside than it is inside. And Zeffie was sort of like, takes a step outside, and she wasn't her usual springy self when she's walking along. I think she was just feeling the heat. But yeah, we went for a walk, and she spent a lot of time walking on the grass where she could, and getting all the latest gossip. I always call it gossip gathering when dogs are in areas where dogs go a lot. I call it the gossip pages or the tabloids for dogs. And so she was having fun reading all of that. And there was a dog that, when we first got onto the street, there was a dog that didn't want you to see you. So when it hid behind a tree and would peer out around behind the tree. And so then her and her owner started walking past us, and Zeffie suddenly appears from beside me right in front of this dog and starts sniffing at it, and this dog's just sort of like wide-eyed, like, what do I do? So you can have so much fun with things. But so in our speed networking thing, a couple of times we got asked what was our favorite 80s sitcom. Well, there were some people that went around in the 80s. So then it was, okay, what is your favorite sitcom? And I'm like sitting there thinking, oh my gosh, what is my favorite sitcom? And my two all-time favorite ones is I Love Lucy and Golden Girls. It doesn't matter how many times I watch those episodes or how many reruns I have seen of it, I always get the good laughs, and I always come away feeling better. So if I need a pick-me-up, that's one of those programs that I go to, like Coupling. But that wasn't an 80s one, so I couldn't mention that one. So the person I was talking with at the time, I Googled, 80s sitcoms, and it came up to listen. So we just start reading off the names of just, oh, I remember that. That was a good one, that one. So we're having a conversation about that. And then the next one that we had to answer for our next speed room thing, because we had like 6 minutes in each room. The next question we had to answer is, what's your favorite movie? And I went, seriously? I have 500 DVDs in my RV, and you want to ask me what is my favorite? Oh my gosh. Yes, that was a trick. So we rattled off some of the movies that I have and enjoy, and of course James Bond is up there as number one. And so yeah, but don't ask me which James Bond is my favorite, because there's 24 of them. Yeah, 25's coming out this year. No, 25 just came out. Oh my gosh, I can't remember when the last James Bond movie came out. What number? No, number 25's coming out this year. Yeah. Um, but anyway, so yeah, so then the person I was talking with, we were going backwards and forwards on different movies that we liked, and I'd mention other ones that were in my binders that I could remember at the time, and they go, oh yeah, that's a good movie, and then they'd mention a movie, and I go, oh yeah, I haven't seen that one for a while. Oh, I'm putting that down on my list. I'm not sure if I have the DVD of that one. Oh, that one I do. So it was kind of interesting going through different movies that we've liked over times, whether or not we like the sequels to some of them. So yes, a lot of great fun conversations today, and in the mastermind group, hearing a lot of great wins that were happening, where people had had some great successes in their businesses, and it was like I love these stories, and the genealogy and history thing today was awesome. I loved it, especially even though we were talking about Edward the what was he, seventh, eighth, who passed away on this day in 1906, 1907, 1909. Hang on. Oh my gosh, I can't can't remember when the king passed away. Um, there was a photo that I posted on my timeline, and for those of you that missed the genealogy and history, that picture was taken in 1910 at the funeral for King. Oh, that's right. King Edward the Eighth is the one that abdicated. So King Edward the Seventh, he passed away on this day in 1910, and his son became King George the Fifth, or fifth. Yes, because Queen Elizabeth's father was King George the Sixth, and so it was interesting, this photograph, and if you look on my Facebook page, you'll see that photograph there, because that photograph was taken at the funeral for King Edward the Seventh. King George the Fifth is the one sitting in the middle seat there, but it had nine kings standing in that photograph from across Europe, and even Norway, Europe, all that whole area. European, Scandinavian, United Kingdom, all in that area, 9 kings. And what was interesting about that photograph, they said, is that it was the most royals foreign royalty that they had had together in one place at the time. But then that photograph became historic for another reason, because less than 4 years after that picture was taken, World War I started, and now a lot of those those nations were now fighting each other in World War I. And so that was during the peacetime, and then you got to wartime, and most of those nations that those kings represented were now at war with each other during World War I. So it was a very interesting photograph from that perspective, in that you've got 9 royals coming together for a common reason, for a funeral for a king. But to think that, less than 4 years after that picture was taken, these nations are now at war with each other. Not all of them, but many of them were at war with each other. So that was kind of, it just struck me as a really cool moment. It's like when they posted a picture of Queen Elizabeth II with Prince Charles, Prince William, and Prince George. That's 4 generations of heirs for the throne, and they hadn't seen 4 generations like that. I think it was since Queen Victoria's day. It was over 100 years since they had been able to take a photograph of a reigning monarch and 3 heirs to the throne. So it's a 4-generation picture with the reigning monarch and 3 heirs to the throne. So that one that was taken with Prince George in it, the first time in over 100 years. It hadn't been since Queen Victoria that they'd been able to take a picture like that. So I love pictures like this, seeing those pictures and knowing of the significance of those photographs. One I love is there was a picture of 6 women in this one picture. The oldest one was 100, and the youngest one was like 6 weeks, and there was 6 generations there. And I was just sort of like, when I saw that picture and I started reading the story, even thinking about it, I got choked up with it because of the history that was right there. And even those that were over the age of 70 looked really, really good for their age. Now, the matriarch of that whole tribe was laying in bed, and she was bedridden. But to see her daughter, her granddaughter, her great-granddaughter, her great-great-granddaughter, her great-great, to see that generation going down to this, and she's holding the 6-week-old, 6-month-old, it was 6 something, that baby in her arms was just an incredible, and I thought the history that is right there in that family, in that moment, can you imagine the stories that they can tell? Can you imagine this? And I was just like thinking, the stories. I would just love to sit down with these women with with a digital recorder going, and just ask them questions, have them tell their stories, and capture them for future generations. If I remember correctly, the oldest one in that picture, she passed away over a year late after that picture was taken. But I thought that is such a precious, precious moment. My sister-in-law had this incredible picture of her mother, her daughter, her granddaughter, and her great-granddaughter. So 5 generations. And even that picture alone also was such an incredible picture. When I saw it, again, I got that choked up feeling to think that there's 5 generations sitting there for that photograph. So I love the generational pictures. I love seeing the generations together, especially when you've got the grandparents and all that. And there's a cartoon out there, and I'm trying to remember the name of the cartoon, where the guy is standing with the camera, and you've got, I think it was 4 generations of, there was the great-grandmother, the grandmother, the daughter, and the granddaughter. And they're all standing there in a row. And the guy's standing there getting ready to take the picture. Excuse me. He's getting ready to take the picture, and he turns around and says, okay, he says, this is going to be a great generational photograph. And there's the four girls standing there. But what he could not see was the ghosts of the generations that had come before them, and the ghosts of the generations to come standing either side of this group of 4. It was a cartoon. It was fantastic. I really want to find that cartoon again and get a copy of it. Because when it comes to genealogy, we are our past, and we are our future. So those that have come before us have already blazed the trail for us to follow. And if I remember, where would I read that? I was reading something, and I'm pretty sure it was like one of the Native American Indian tribes that said that we don't leave the past behind us. We actually have the past. We follow those that have already blazed the trail before us. So our past goes before us and leads us, because they've already blazed this trail for us. And when I sit there and I think about that, I think, they're right. Because if you look at some of the things, you look at all these times that we're talking about the genealogy and history, we're talking about the history, events that took place in history that have now forged paths, have created things that future generations are going to be able to enjoy, or there's been events that have happened that have now shaped the future of things to come. And that is from our past that has done that. We are following our past into the future. And I thought, how cool is it to think of things that way? This is why I love genealogy, because it gives us those paths to follow. And then you get these great stories and everything else. And one of the girls I was talking with today in the speed networking thing, we got talking about the genealogy side of it. And she was telling me about a portion of her family story. And I honestly can't wait to just go dig, because I was sort of like, oh my gosh, and I'm like asking her questions and jotting down notes, and I just so want to go and just look, just out of curiosity, to see what I can find. And it all became because of a portrait that used to hang in one of her grandparents' houses, and how people said she looked like this particular, like, 3rd or 4th great grandmother. So she went, and after the person who owned the house passed away, they went looking for the portrait, and the portrait was gone. And so she never got to see if she was a likeness of this person in the portrait. And I'm sort of like, I gotta go find this information for her. I have to find this information for her. So I got a few clues and things, and so we're gonna start a little dig, just go for a little browse and have a look and see what we can find. But there is so much history out there, and to think that our ancestors have blazed the trail for us, and we're actually following our past into the future. Think about that. We are following our past into the future. That's it from me for today. Have a super fantastic, sparkling evening, and we will catch you back tomorrow for Fun Friday. Hei konera!